Ladies and gentlemen and beyond, welcome to a patch breakdown. Marvel Rivals Netties have released the patch notes that are likely going to take us into Season 1 for the Marvel Rivals Championship. It is unlikely we'll see another patch change before that tournament starts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through these and I'm going to explain everything in the best way that I can in relation to what we've been seeing throughout Season 0 games and how we'll be seeing them adjusted, especially with the patch that came out at the end of Season 0 as well. So, let's get started. These are the balance patches. This is also coming into conjunction with, of course, the release of the Human Torch and the Thing. So we're going to be getting a little bit of those as well. So I don't believe this list. I haven't actually scrolled through this. If it hasn't mentioned those at the end, I will jump in with them. So we'll see from there. So, let's get started. We're starting off with the Vanguards. Captain America. Now, Cap did get a little bit of a buff at the end of Season 0, so was able to be a little bit more aggressive, was a little bit tankier. So let's have a look at what we have here. So he receives some enhanced survivability. His Vibranium Energy Sword will feel smoother. That's his E. And his ultimate ability will be more attainable thanks to reduced energy costs. So he's getting reduced energy costs on his ultimate from Freedom Charge down to 2,800. That's good. That's one of his main sustainabilities, which allows him to harass the backline very effectively. So that's a solid choice to keep him buffed up. The Vibranium Energy Sword's projectile speed has been increased, which ricochets, ramping up from 100 meters per second to a supercharged 150 meters per second. Very cool. It's not the strongest ability in the game right now, but it is pretty effective when it comes to once you've dived in, have a little bit of follow-up damage, which turns what is a little bit of a nuisance dive of just jumping on top of people into something that's a little bit scary. When you see that hitbox go down those hit points go down pretty quickly, suddenly it becomes a little more intimidating, even though all Cat really has left is punches and an escape. That's all he really has. If he's using his charge on you once he's already in, then he is very committed to the elimination, and your team can hopefully pick him off. His combat experience by separating Sentinel Strike from melee attacks. Captain America will be able to use melee attacks while his shield is thrown, or during the team-up ability charged Aegis state to activate the first 2 hits of Sentinel Strike. Interesting. So that should, I believe, just mean that he's triggering his quicker auto attacks a little bit faster. Additionally, while airborne, using melee attacks will no longer trigger the Super Soldier Slam ability. So I assume this is going to be thrown onto a different button. There's probably going to be a different way to activate Super Soldier Slam to, allow him to continue to apply pressure to the backline. But yeah, utilizing the charged Aegis team up with Thor and being able to melee while the shield is thrown makes him so much stronger. We talked about diving in, throwing the shield, and being able to follow up that way to just pressure enemies as best as you can. But being able to still auto while that shield is out, especially if you're in a larger group of enemies, that's going to help. It builds that ult charge. It's going to allow you a little bit of extra harassment. So solid. These are solid changes for Captain America. I already expected we might see a little bit more of him. Venom was already going to be seeing potentially a fair amount of play in Season 1, so we'll see if Cap is able to join them as that other dive tank. Next, Doctor Strange. A beloved Sorcerer Supreme will take a modest hit to his survivability, 650 down to 600 on health. That's fair. Strange is still the most dominant tank, even after Season 0. He got a nerf to his Maelstrom of Madness. He is still, the most dominant tank, is still in full control of most games he is in. It's a very sensible play to nerf out Strange a little bit to try and take away his dominance when it comes to the board. I can see Magneto is next on the list. I was about to say is one down the list. I was about to say I expect we'll probably see a bit of a nerf to Magneto as well, because those two are the main anchors for so many compositions. And if you want to see healthy Vanguard play, I would have preferred if they buffed up the other Vanguards instead of nerfing these two. But with Strange, it makes sense. Strange is just so strong at the moment. Groot. Increase the threat range of everyone's favorite Flora Colossus. Wall range increase. All right, Thornlash wall placement range from 15 to 18 meters. Only 3 meters, but that is a lot. In the grand scheme of things, you're going to be able to apply so much extra pressure there. The power of Groot, as we've already seen multiple times, comes from the ability to isolate teammates from their strategists. If you can focus them down by just blocking the healing output, then suddenly those vanguards are a lot more vulnerable, especially in what was, in theory, going into this, we'll see how the patch notes affect that, going to be a triple strategist meta going into Season 1. So I'm curious to see if that continues. But the group walls makes it a little bit harder to utilize that, especially with that extra range, making it much harder for the Vanguards to actually step up. Groot, almost certainly going to see play in Season 1. They were already strong, this just buffs them. No issues there. Groot is just a really good character right now. If you're learning like Vanguard play, you should absolutely learn like one of Magneto and Doctor Strange, and then like one of the dive tanks. I'd say Hulk is probably the best option there, but Venom or Cap is also a reasonable option if you want a little bit of pressure there. And then you should also learn Groot. So you want one of Magneto or Strange, Groot, and then one of the dive tanks. I'd say if you can get that core down, you've got a pretty solid Vanguard set in order to be heading into those competitive games. So there's my little advice for people there. All right, Magneto! Master of Magnetism will experience a slight dip in survivability, but will be compensated with a small surge in offensive ability. Interesting, Magneto's already getting close to topping damage charts in some of the competitive games we cast recently, especially in the Asia region. They really seem to be locked in on Magneto. So let's see. Iron Volley Projectile, this is auto damage from 35 to 40, so that's a damage buff. A Metallic Curtain, which is his main wall ability. Energy consumption from 50 seconds to 65. Okay. So it's getting a little bit of a duration reduction and a little bit of a charge. So it's not really like a full cooldown. Like, we're not saying it's like a 50-second cooldown. That is just how long it takes to... 50 per second. You can see Magneto has that little charge. I'm on the wrong side of the screen for you guys. A little charge bar when he uses Metallic Curtain. I believe it's affecting that, how much energy it utilizes, so how long the shields will last as is. I might be incorrect on that. I'm not 100% familiar with how the energy system works when it comes to Magneto. I will look more into that. But a little bit nerfed with survivability, which is fair, but it's just the Metallic Curtain, which is where Magneto is very strong, but it's not his biggest strength. Magneto's biggest strength comes in his mag cannon, the ability to just blast people off objectives. It's the same reason why Thor is so popular in some regions, the ability to push people away from objectives and isolate them from the team. Thor, Magneto, and a little bit, of course, of Wolverine. Those are people able to isolate better, but Magneto is more about pushing and getting some value that way. But the biggest value comes, of course, in that Metallic Bulwark, the ability to shield allies, so that when they go in, this is what allows Magneto to play so well with characters like Magic, like Black Panther, who are going in and applying a lot of pressure, like Venom. North America in PC play had this locked down, where they were able to utilize the Magneto along with the Venom to just hyper pressure the backline of enemy teams and really just try and apply a dive potential to allow the duelists to actually deal their damage output while everyone is distracted, because the Venom is already almost impossible to kill. Being able to just pressure that way means Venom might even get an elimination of their own. They have that symbiotic resistance. They have the Metallic Bulwark. They have the ability to swing out. It's a really solid combo that North America latched onto and worked very well for them. All right, so yeah, a solid. I don't think this is going to affect Magneto in any negative way. Honestly, like, yeah, he's a little less tanky right now, but you should be running two Vanguards anyway, even in triple strategist lineups. All the pro player, or at least majority of pro players, lean more towards the double Vanguard triple strategist play, as opposed to the competitive bronze to plat to diamond, in fact, play of a double duelist, one Vanguard triple strategist, which, fine, I guess, but if you're not playing optimally, at least at the time of recording this before the patch drops. So, Thor, the mightiest Guardian, will offer a greater user experience after unleashing Awakened Rune. That's already so strong! Remove the shared cooldown time after duration of Awakening Rune ends! That is so good! So, Thor already, a lot of the best Thor players will almost never throw Mjolnir. You can do it, it's good for taking out, like, the more summons and stuff like that. You can use it for that. But the majority of the time, you want to save your Thor Force for either diving or for dropping the Awakening Rune, because the damage output is crazy. The weakness of Awakening Rune, though, means you have to be in a safe position, because once you've activated it, everything goes on cooldown, meaning once it's finished, you can't then follow up on a weakened target with a dash or a Lightning Surge, or retreat with Lightning Surge. With this, Thor is now a lot safer to play. If I'm reading this correctly, this means that Thor can now dive and gets less punished because he's able to do an Awakening Rune and then dash away. He can reposition, snipe from a flank, and then move back, or follow up on someone who is weakened down if you're trying to bust through a tank with that lightning ability. That's solid. Really, really strong. Big fan of that. This also means you can dash in with Lightning Surge, use the Lightning Field, pressure someone, try and burn, and then to finish a tank, drop the Awakening Rune, drop a lot of damage onto the backline, and by that point, one of the Thor Force should have been recharged, and you should be able to dash away again because you don't have to wait for that cooldown anymore. That is really good. Thor. Thumbs up. This is definitely going to help the fact that we're probably seeing Storm in a lot of games unless she's receiving nerfs. Speaking of which, Venom! I almost missed Venom! The symbiote menace will enter the fray more menacing than ever, with a heightened threat upon entering the battle. Leader energy appetite for his ultimate ability. Adjust the knockback effect of frenzied arrival from vertical to inward, with an inward knockback angle of 75. So if I'm correct here, what that means is if Venom lands on you before, it was just you head out like in a straight line away from him, and now it's inward. Is that correct? Where it's like he pulls people in when he lands and sends them diagonally. This would mean that you can combo it with someone like Groot. If I'm reading this correctly, which again all I can go by is the text here. If I'm reading this correctly, this means that Venom and Groot could be a pretty solid combo. It wouldn't give a lot of protection for the backline outside of group walls, which can be taken out very quickly. I could see this being very strong. The the buff to Feast of the Abyss, 300 charge reduction there is pretty good. That's going to be valued. That's super good. Okay, so I think this is good. If it's how I'm reading it and it pulls people inwards, that groups them more up for someone like Iron Man, for Storm, for Johnny Blaze, Mr. Human Torch. There's so much value there. There's so many abilities that rely on people being grouped up. Iron Man, in fact. I think this one's probably pretty good. From how I'm reading it, I'd say it's pretty solid here. Alright, duelists. Oh, hi, Black Widow. You're still here. Natasha's effectiveness has been enhanced, increasing the threat level to enemies after using her ultimate ability. Increase magazine capacity from 8 to 15. Sensible. You're playing a sniper character. You want to make sure that you keep that pressure on the board, and the shots 2 to 3 hit basically everyone in the game. So being able to stay a little more aggressive and utilize movement without having to reload means that she can stay a little more mobile and a little more passive in the backline without having to worry too much about just getting spotted and pinged out. And enhance the slow effect of the Electroplasma Explosion, that's the ultimate, on enemies from 80% to 55%. I assume that's of normal movement speed, not that's how much the slow is, because otherwise that's not an enhance, that's a nerf. So I assume the wording of this is they are now reduced to 55% of their total movement speed and not 80% of their total movement speed, because that's worse. So yeah, that is extra slow, that's going to be pretty solid. My problem with this is that the ult takes a little too long for the value that Black Widow applies. This is where you see a little bit of weakness here. Hawkeye, he is more consistent in terms of damage. Black Widow needs time to like set up and position a lot of the time. Pro players are able to like lock it down a couple times and like get positioned to try and ping people, but in this case, not so sure it's gonna work out in the way that I expect they were hoping. But the slow and the vulnerability, 50% vulnerability effect to hit enemies for 4 seconds, that is gonna be useful. I could see now Natasha being dropped in against people like potentially an Iron Man or the Flyers. Actually, this might be good, because this now gives you both anti-tank with damage reduction and the massive slow to take out vanguards. And you can still use Natasha to try and take out flyers, who are going to be like super meta this patch, I would assume. That could be good. You need to have a really good sustained damage on the other side, so we're talking like a Punisher and a Maw, someone like that, Psylocke, Hela. Okay, alright. I am open to the possibility. It would be interesting to see more Black Widow. I am not sure, but I'm open to the possibility of value being gained here. Alright, Hawkeye! Sharpening Clint's survival instincts and honing his close quarters abilities while his ultimate ability takes aim with greater peril. Increased base health? Interesting! Hawkeye was already very strong. Getting a survivability buff. Reduce projectile damage of blast arrow from 20 to 15 whilst the spell field of damage will be increased. Okay, that's fair enough, just sort of spreading the damage out. Of course, this all scales with his passive. Okay, so it's getting the AoE damage up while getting the center damage down. That's sensible. He already does a lot of single target damage. You want to give him like a little bit of AoE so that he can assist in big grouped team fights. Reduce the cooldown of Crescent Slash. That gives him a little bit of melee defense. That's solid because he gets dived a lot. And increase the bow draw speed during the duration of Hunter's Sight ultimate ability and raise damage multiplier. That's solid. That's going to keep Hawkeye probably at least in pro play a little bit, just for the fact that already he was just so strong. He got a little bit of a nerf at the end of Season 0, as we already mentioned. But this ultimate buff and the survivability means he's going to be more consistent. So I can see Hawkeye making their way in, again, especially against squishier backlines, and if you have a solid, like, passive push with, like, Magneto Strange, for example, I can see the value being gained here. You're going to be able to push in very aggressively and get the value that way. So I see it here. This has potential. Hela! She will no longer cast a longer shadow with increase to her mid to long range suppression. Damage fall off of Night Sword Thorn at 30 meters will be changed from 70 to 80. Just a damage nerf. Hela is still basically dominating all of the plays. Night Sword, I believe, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure that is her E. Because Shift is Astral Flock. Let me just double check quickly. I don't know every ability off by heart yet. I'm doing my best. Hela. Soul Drainer. Nice one thought. Oh, it's just Ember Autos. Okay, so it's not her E. Okay, so yeah, it's just doing some damage fall off. It's fair. It is fair. Hela again is still kind of a little bit dominant. She's able to like ping everyone from like max range. A little bit of a nerf to that sniping ability will be a little bit more welcome. Wait, no, this is a buff. Yeah, no, this is a buff. I read that completely wrong. This is increasing her damage. Okay, so I guess I feel like they over-nerfed Hela. I think, now this is just me theory crafting here, so yeah, it's going to be 80% of normal damage instead of 70% of normal damage. This means Hela's still going to be pretty strong at long range, and this is 100% a response to the fact that they know flyers are going to be good. At least this is my theory craft, so 100%. My subjective opinion is that we are going to see a lot of flyers in Season 1, and this is a direct response to that, a preemptive mini buff to ping people at long range to keep a little bit of pressure on those flying characters. Hela's still strong. Big surprise. Iron Fist! Oh boy, okay. Lin Lee will bring fresh techniques to the martial arts mix. This is a big patch. Enhancing it, here's Yachi Chongyun with both fortitude and finesse. Reduce the damage of Jeet Kune Do's first, second, and fifth strikes. Weird option. From 32 to 30. Okay, so that's a 6 damage nerf so far. While the third and fourth strikes will deal 15 instead of 16. So that's another 2. So it's 8 damage removed from the combo. Not a lot. The final devastating 6th strike has been dialed back from 55 to 50. So that's 13 damage taken off of that combo. The cooldown reduction for Dragon's Defense has been extended from 1 second to 1.5. Nice, that's the deflection. That's going to give them a little bit of extra survivability. The damage for each hit of Yatji Jongkyun will take a hit, dropping from 19 to 10 flat damage. That's a big nerf, including during Living Chi. However, each strike from Yachi Chungkyun now delivers an extra blow. Okay, the damage equal to 1.7%. Ah, that's nice. That's nice. Okay. So they are trying to, like, they're making Iron Fist a little more survivable, nerfing his overall damage, but the percentage damage is being added. This is turning Iron Fist from a backline dive character, which he can still do, into someone who can actually fight tanks and do a reasonable job at it. That's really interesting, including during Living Chi. That's going to be really strong. That's going to stack that up a lot. Alright, increase the additional maximum health granted by Harmony Recovery from 50 to 150, allowing them to stay more sustaining again. They're going full sustain for Iron Fist. A new delay mechanism for extra health has also been introduced. 1 second after the ability ends, the additional health will deplete at a rate of 25 health per second. So being able to get around a corner, drop some healing quickly, and then hopefully turn around and re-engage fast, it's forcing you to try and stay deeper. I like it. Very interesting. Increase the maximum bonus health converted from damage blocked during Dragon's defense from 150 to 200, more sustain, and increase base health. So yeah, just nerfs to all of Iron Fist's damage, essentially, but buffs to percentage damage to take on Vanguards, and buffs to sustainability. So they're turning him into more of a little bit of a bruiser, which makes sense. Iron Fist is quite hard to take down, so it is sensible here. I like that. I do quite like this a lot. It means me as like a strategist and strategist main, I'm going to be a little less harassed, although I still will be harassed. This is not going to stop Iron Fist from going into backlines and causing problems. But also the Vanguard main in me, because I very rarely play Duelist, I have like 3 Duelists I play, is about to have a rough time. That is going to be some really good damage. And we don't have a lot of crowd control yet in this game, although that's going to change a little bit. Alright, Iron Man! Tony will crank up the heat with his Unibeam, ensuring that even without Gamma Overdrive, foes will feel the burn. Increase Unibeam damage from 120 per second to 140 per second, and increase Unibeam Armor Overdrive damage from 180 to 190? It's already his main ability! PC players were abusing this across like all 3 regions because they realized how strong it was with the Hulk team up especially. But now they're buffing it without. They are basically giving Iron Man an opportunity to enter into battle. PC players is a huge buff to them because it's much easier to aim the Unibeam with a mouse and keyboard, with a mouse obviously. But that is a solid buff. That is big for Iron Man. That is going to give so much tank melting capability. This is about to be a bad patch to be a Vanguard. I'm telling y'all now. This is rough, except for Venoms. Venoms are having a lovely time. Venoms rejoice in the chat. And Caps, I guess. Alright. Magic. The Queen of Limbo will see her damage capability be slightly reduced, but the energy cost to unleash her ultimate ability will be slightly lowered. It's time to behold Darkchild. Decrease the damage dealt by Demon's Rage, regular state, from 80 to 72, and reduce the energy cost of Darkchild. Okay, so standard nerf to Magic, just reduce the damage. She's performing a little bit too much, but a little bit of a buff to allow Darkchild to be used more regularly. That is actually a buff to her sustain and her damage overall, which means that she is going to still be used plenty effectively here. This is not too bad. Magic was a little bit overtuned, I'd say, when it comes to that. It's just the meta was making it so that she struggled a little bit. But she still got utilized in like a lot of the pro games. So it's not too surprising to see Magic getting a cheeky little nerf here, especially as they're trying to balance for like console and PC games. So being able to nerf her, especially for the console players, is going to be pretty big here, while still keeping her viable thanks to Darkchild. Solid. No complaints here. That's just solid patchwork. Mr. Fantastic. I've been seeing a little bit of discussion about this on the forums before I started recording this. Reed will stretch his nuisance factor with greater impact from his ultimate ability. Increase the spell field radius after landing from flexible elongation from 2.5 to 5 meters. Additionally, flexible elongation will now feature a knockback effect, launching enemies outward within the area upon landing. The recharge time for a single use of flexible elongation will be adjusted from 8 to 10 seconds. Flexible elongation. Which one is that? He's a newer character and I haven't really had the chance to cast them yet, so give me a moment. Let's have a look here. I want to make sure I'm at least trying to give y'all reasonable information. Flexible elongation, so that's the E. That's the one you can pull people together with. Okay. So it's more long range, but now has a knockback effect. Ah, I see. So now the cooldown's a little bit longer if you only hit a single person. But now if you hit two people, they're knocked back from each other. That's kind of a nerf, which means you're not going to see people grouped up as often, thanks to Mr. Fantastic. That's interesting. I am actually quite surprised by that. I figured there would be, like, he's strong, and I expect we'll still see a little bit of him, but a little nerf to him is kind of interesting. Okay. Alright, interesting. If I'm reading that correctly, again, I'm going just by text here. This reads as a very small nerf to Mr. Fantastic. It's enough to be annoying, though. The extra range, great. The knockback and the recharge time is a little bit rough. All right, increase the damage of Brainiac bounce. We all expected that. The damage is very low, from 50 to 70. Increase the energy cost. Ooh, increase the energy cost. Additionally, a new damage decay mechanism has been introduced. Spell field damage will begin to decrease starting at 3 meters, which maximum reduction at 50 or 50 at 10 meters. Okay. Longer cooldown, harder to charge up, more damage, but with a decay in the area. So if you're on the outside, so running away from the ability is good. Splitting as a team is good. Imagine your Marines, and this is a very bouncy Baneling. You need to just get as far away as possible to try and get out. Shout out to the StarCraft fans in the chat. All right, that's pretty solid. It's not bad. It can be really comboed well with Groot. I can see this getting some solid use, and I'm pretty sure we'll see a little bit of Mr. Fantastic, just because he is essentially an off Vanguard, just giving some pretty solid sustain for the team while also having okay damage output. The flexible elongation, does punish that a little bit, but they still have the majority of the tools that they need, so it's not too bad. It definitely makes him worse, but it's still not bad. It could be worse. Moon Knight. Hand of Khonshu. Yes, please. It's been broken for a month now. It's literally been bugged, or it's accidentally been dealing double damage. So yes, please. Reduce Hand of Khonshu's talents falling speed. Yes, please. I do not like dying on the getting eliminated on the words the m. Not a lot of time to react during that. Correct damage trigger logic for Hand of Khonshu. Previous mechanism that does 75 damage when positioned at the center of the spell has been removed. Increased damage from each hit from 75 to 150. Okay, so they're making it so that it's universal damage across the board. It's not double damage all over the place here. I think this is fine. They're just slowing the stuff. They're slowing it down, but making the damage universal. So now quicker reactions will be rewarded. Good team play. It won't matter where people are positioned. You're going to be able to wombo and blow people up with this ability. Overall, I don't think this is going to affect Moon Knight in any really significant way. They're still going to be pretty strong here, but it will mean that people in some of the lower ranks won't be able to abuse the bugs on him as much. That's the theory I've got here. Scarlet Witch! We're boosting her survivability when unleashing her ultimate ability. Additional 100 bonus health upon activating Reality Erasure. After the ability ends or is interrupted, this bonus health will decay at a rate of 50 per second. Fun! I like that. So they're not making her invulnerable or, like, unstoppable during the ultimate, but they are making it so that she's harder to take down. That's the biggest thing with Reality Erasure. One, you can dodge it. You should be able. I mean, you shouldn't be able to. It's supposed to erase reality, but it's a video game. We're playing for fun. Shush. So shush, 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 shush. But this, the majority of the times, at least 40% of the times, you hear pure chaos. It usually results in being picked off before the S comes out in that sentence. So this is nice. This is a little buff. We're already seeing like a little bit of Scarlet Witch start to creep in from some teams, usually with portal plays, but this is going to remove that need, at least in some cases. You're still going to be rewarded with a little bit of extra sustain. Scarlet Witch is already quite hard to take down. The percentage damage is pretty reasonable, and she does have some burst damage. We've been seeing a little bit of the high of like the top Scarlet Witch players. They play very flank heavy. They can do it quite well. Damage output's reasonable. The ultimate's solid, and of course, Invisible Woman coming into play in Season 1 is going to utilize they have the option to utilize Scarlet Witch very aggressively here. Scarlet Witch, of course, their biggest weakness is how close they have to be to deal some of their damage output from their main autos. This is where you will see a lot of people leaning away from her. But there are melee characters for a reason. I can see Scarlet Witch potentially sneaking in certain drafts. We'll have to see. Alright, Spider-Man! Slightly reducing web cluster cooldown to increase his offense buff to Spider-Man. Interesting. Web cluster energize time from 3 seconds to 2.5. That's his ranged attack, right? Spider-Man. Web cluster! Yep, that's his that's his ranged attack. That's sensible. It's kind of the setup for like everything he has. So this is just a general buff to Spider-Man without being huge. It's a pretty solid time buff, but nothing that's gonna like make Spider-Man any more broken than he already was. Spider-Man's big thing is swinging in, doing damage, and swinging out anyway. It's why he can be punished quite hard when you're fighting on objectives. But, and obviously, sorry, his team can be punished quite hard. This doesn't do anything to hurt that. It actually makes you able to stick around a little bit longer. Solid. No complaints. This is just good. Here we go. Peter's mobility is getting a stellar upgrade. Increased rocket propulsion's maximum energy from 120 to 1800. Sorry, from 1 to 100. 1200. Good lord, can't read today. To 1800. Okay. I believe that's just a buff to their mobility, which is good because that's how Star-Lord was utilized as a bit of a counter for someone like Iron Man, being able to chase them down and just do damage is also going to make them good against Storm. Ironically, a flyer being used to counter other flyers, that's kind of a niche that Star-Lord has found themselves in. So, not too surprising to see a little bit of a buff there. Star-Lord was already very strong. This doesn't affect their strength in any way, it just makes them better against very certain targets. Storm. We've toned down her Tempest from long range and recalibrated her bonuses. Good! I was getting a little irritated getting pinged from across the map by storms, offering less of a boost to herself, but more to her allies in the Eye of the Storm. Interesting. Damage fall off of Windblade at 30 meters changed from 17 to 60% of main damage. That's just a little bit of a damage nerf from max range. Reduce Storm's damage increase from Thunder during weather control from 16 to 12. However, the damage increase for allies within range increased from 8 to 10%. Solid. So yeah, Storm just getting herself a little damage nerf, but her allies getting a little bit of a damage buff. No complaints. That is just pretty solid. Storm always kind of fell into that sort of like semi-strategist damage dealer in like the early parts of Season 0, and then the end of Season 0, they got the huge damage buffs, and suddenly they were pretty unstoppable. I would have personally seen a nerf to the ult charge rate. That's the biggest issue we're currently seeing with Storm, of the she's getting her ult so quickly. But we're starting to see strategists realize that like the big heal ultimates are able to, or not even the ultimates, some of the like healing abilities, like Cloak and Dagger's healing orb, are able to shut down Storm's Omega Hurricane. So sad we don't see the ultimate nerf because it was very strong. Enhanced Thunder during weather control. Yeah, it's just a solid adjustment to Storm. It's buffing allies mostly, a little bit of a damage increase when she's activating her advanced ability to make up for the passive nerf. Overall, pretty solid. I don't think this is going to affect Storm's play rate in any way. It does just make her feel a little bit more in line with some of the other people, but I still think she's going to be like one of the strongest characters going into Season 1. Going to Season 1 Marvel Rivals Championship. Sorry, she's already in Season 1. But is going to be able to do some insane work for the team here. Strategists! Alright, so that's the end of the duel list. So nothing for the Morn, Punisher, Winter Soldier, anyone like that. Okay. Strategist. Adam Warlock, my boy! Damage capability will be enhanced along with slight increases in healing ability after activating Soul Bond. Okay. Alright. Increase the damage of Quantum Magic, that's the autos, from 55 to 60. That's good. Additionally, the damage fall off at 40 meters will be changed from 50 to 60. So just a damage boost all around for Adam Warlock. That's awesome. Adam Warlock was already pretty strong damage-wise. This makes him even better. It helps him fit into that niche of being the damage strategist to actually assist their team in that way. Really a fan of that. And then we have the Soul Bond. So Soul Bond increase healing amount provided by Soul Bond to linked allies from 10 seconds to 15 per second. 10 per second to 15 per second. Reminder for Soul Bond, because we don't see a lot of Adam Warlock in ranked play. Adam Warlock will share a portion of the damage sustained by linked allies. If Adam sustains damage that would KO him due to the link, then the link will be broken and he will remain at 1 HP. The link will also break once enough damage is sustained. If Adam Warlock or the linked ally leave the link's range after a certain length of time has passed. The healing amount is 10 per second, and it was a range of 15 and lasts for 6 seconds. So they are upgrading that from 10 per second to 15 per second. So basically, that's how much Adam will transfer. That's the rate Adam will transfer his health to his allies. That's good. That's really strong. This is going to combo so well with dive characters. Or even just tankier people like Punisher, who are able to just walk in and absorb damage that way. This is going to be pretty big. I can see this getting some solid use here. That's a solid buff. And with the Star-Lord buffs as well, I think we'll see the continuation of the Adam Warlock, Star-Lord, etc. Star-Lord, Adam Warlock's attacks, pretty long range. They are projectiles, but they're not the most difficult to predict, so you could actually try and utilize that as a little bit of anti-fire as well. But they're slow enough that I think a good Storm player or an Iron Man, or even another Star-Lord, will be able to play around that. Cloak and Dagger. Survivability and lowercase different font healing ability. What? Okay. Wait, why are some of these... None of these are, but these ones are. Why is the font different here? Alright, no, not a problem. It's not an issue. Survivability and healing ability during the activation of their ultimate ability will be increased, while the frequency, duration, and intensity of ultimate ability reduced. Additionally, Tyrant's threat level will be enhanced. Increase energy cost to activate Eternal Bond by 600. That's pretty solid. It was very low on cooldown. It's why we're starting to see a lot of these triple strategist plays. Some of these cooldowns were so low that you'd always have one to shut down a duelist ultimate. The healing amount of each segment will be increased from 220 per second to 550 per second. So harder, longer cooldown, but stronger protection. So it's still going to shut down duelist ultimates, but now you have to be more patient with it. The duration will be reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, a little bit of a nerf there, and the pause between segments decreased from 1 second to 0.6, going to make it harder to snipe Cloak and Dagger now. The healing effect of each segment will not stack when overlapping. Only one healing effect is applied. Additionally, camera control is unlocked during the activation of Eternal Bond. Smart! That's going to give you a little bit more flexibility. It reduces the, this is just another bring them in line with everyone else. Cloak and Dagger's Eternal Bond was already pretty strong, so being able to nerf that a little bit is going to be solid, while increasing the overall healing output consistency means that they're still going to remain viable and powerful. And increase the vulnerability inflicted to enemies by Terra Cape from 20 to 28. No complaints, just a little bit of damage output. Always going to be welcome. It's going to allow Cloak and Daggers to play a little bit more flexible, but of course the dagger part is still going to be doing a lot of healing output. So you've got some good value there. Nice and solid. Alright. Invisible Woman! Ultimate nerf, just the charge time. 300, not a lot. It was already quite high, but it's a sensible nerf. It's a very strong ultimate, so taking that down a little bit is going to balance it out a bit more. Loki! It still means that, Invisible Woman, it still means her shield is going to be there, so she's still going to be able to protect flyers. She still has that anti-dive potential with all of her other abilities. Invisible Woman, absolutely going to be seen in Season 1. Loki! Reducing the Trickster God ultimate frequency while slightly enhancing its survivability. Mystical Missile charges, so that's his autos, increased from 10 to 12 before reload. Not a lot, but that buffs his healing and his damage. And increase the energy cost by 600 again. So we're keeping all the strategists a little bit, by the looks of it, all the big ones, getting that energy cost. You kind of gotta nerf Loki in terms of ult charge if you're nerfing the other strategists, because His ults are their ults, so being able to nerf that is very sensible. I think that's a solid choice. Here's the one that a lot of people have been waiting for. Ultimate Frequency, Fate of Both Worlds, 4,000 to 4,500. That's one of the highest in the game right now, right? If not the highest? Except for maybe Adam Warlock? What's Adam Warlock's? Let's have a quick look. I still have his page up. Karmic Revival. 5,000. Yeah, Adam Warlock is still the longest charge in the game. But Lunar Snow creeping up there. 4,500. Not nerfing the duration, so it's still going to be like one of the strongest ultimates in the game, but longer charge rates means that there's still more vulnerability. So, sensible removal here. Taking that up a little bit. Team up abilities. We're getting some nerfs to those as well. It has the capability of Lunar Snow's side of the team ability, increasing healing amount of frozen chi from 50 to 75 and a slow effect from 20 to 30. Alright, so yeah, we're really going all in on just making the, we're really going in to just help out the, I'm forgetting the words here, the Iron Fist. So that is pretty solid here. Let's have a look at this. Let's read the text of it so that we can all be on the same page. Team ups. Yeah, so that's Dragon's Chill, so it's not affecting Iron Fist's side. It is only affecting Lunar Snow's side. Frozen Chi. Iron Fist channels the Chi of Xiaolao into Lunar Snow. Xiaolao? I don't know how to pronounce that one. Transforming her ice powers into chi-infused frosty ring that radiates around her. This ring can knock back enemies with chilling damage and applies a slowing effect while simultaneously healing her allies. Okay, so that's a little bit of anti-dive. That could be really useful. Being able to do a knockback and an AoE team heal to protect the other strategist. We might start seeing Iron Fist. Like a lot more. That is both tank elimination now and the ability to just try and protect those strategists. I'm not saying we will. It's not a promise, but there's a chance. There is a chance. I can see it happening. My eyebrow just looks very droopy because I'm always just faced at an angle here. Alright. Dimensional Shortcut. Black Panther and Psylocke. Reduce the rewind time from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. That's actually fair. Means you're less likely to, it's less free with the dives. And conversion ratio of lost health to blue armor will be increased from 5 to 0.8. Okay. So this is going to give them a little bit of tankiness when they rewind. This is sensible. And increase the rewind time of Arcana Master from 5 to 3. Exact same. So they're just trying to make a little bit less sustained when they're combining with magic. So when magic jumps in and gives them that portal rewind, it's making it so that they are less, they're able to rewind less, but they get more sustained when they do it. So it's keeping them more in the fight, giving them less ability to just dive in and get out for free. Alright. Gamma Charge! Oh boy, here we go. Reduce the capability of Gamma Overdrive and Hog's benefits on the team up. Ah, here we go. Okay. Reduce Unibeam Gamma Overdrive damage from 220 to 200 per second. So that is what makes sense with the damage buffs to Iron Man because they were nerfing it on the Hulk side with the team up. So we're still going to see Iron Man get very strong on his own, but now the Hulk team up, it's still really powerful, but they're trying to adjust it to keep it balanced that way and reduce the team up anchor. Hulk now just being a little less tanky when he's in that team up. Solid. Lunar Force! Enhancing Moon Knight survivability after using the team up ability. New moon effects continuously heal Moon Knight 25 per second while in the affected area. This is going to allow Moon Knight to flank a lot. That could be strong. That could allow him to flank around and go for a little bit of extra protection to just keep pressure on enemy teams because they now have a get out of jail free card off a cloak while also healing. This is big for Moon Knight fans. That's strong. And Symbiote Bond. Penny Parker and Spider-Man will enjoy enhanced survivability thanks to suit armor expulsion enhancements. Reduce Spider-Man's duration of suit expulsion from 4 seconds to 1 second. Replace the 50% damage reduction effect with a new invincibility effect. Oh, that's big! Reduce Penny Parker's armor expulsion. The exact same thing. Okay, so the damage output's going to be affected, I believe. Let's have a quick look at that. Make sure I've got that right. Spider-Man. Team up, suit expulsion. Finish as part of his symbiote with Spider-Man and Penny Parker. Activating their symbiote ability, Spider-Man and Penny Parker convert the symbiotes into explosive spikes to inflict harm on nearby enemies and relentlessly drive them back. attack interval, 1 hit per second, 50 damage per strike. That's critical damage. Okay. So it's a little bit of damage, and the damage is going to be nerfed. So they're not saying the damage speed is increased, 'cause it's still damage per second. But now instead of excuse me, instead of doing damage reduction, it does give a full second of invincibility. This turns it from a follow-up dive, which Spider-Man can still use, it's still extra damage, from like a big dive, do damage, and swing out ability, into a dive, do damage, swing out ability with less damage, but the ability to also utilize it to survive, for example, an invincible pulse cannon, or something like that. 1 second of invulnerability is pretty solid, and will give you a solid protective state there. Alright, that's all the patch notes, ladies and gentlemen. We're also going to see the introduction of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and of course, the Thing, Benjamin Grimm. I'm excited about both. Here's what we've seen for them so far. Not going to do a full breakdown. There are other videos that have done that better. We're seeing a little bit of Johnny Storm, very much a poke character, but with the ability to dive and knock back. His whole stick seems to be controlling the area by setting damage over time in terms of certain areas, and when he dives onto those areas, they explode out, doing damage and knocking back enemies. He's also able to upgrade them into big fire tornadoes when he uses his ultimate Supernova, which can combine with Storm as their team up. Looks solid, he's another flyer. Projectiles look a little slow, with looking like a little bit faster or the same speed as Iron Man from what I could tell. I might be wrong, I've only watched the trailer so far. I haven't actually watched the gameplay of people playing, just the trailer last night, so forgive me if I'm remembering things incorrectly here. But looks pretty solid, especially going with Storm. I think the dive potential is going to really synergize. Again, I think we'll see them with people like Groot, for example, and Invisible Woman being able to protect flyers. Really, really strong. And the fact that Johnny gets involved and in the melee sometimes with that dive, Invisible Woman's going to be able to top them up quite nicely. I can see that. I think that's going to be really, really good. And then, of course, we have the Thing, Benjamin Grimm. Now, first things first, they have a basically invincible charge that knocks people back. That's going to be really good for engages. They have the ability to dive onto allies for like a stone aegis kind of thing. That's big because they have a big pull everyone back into the team, which is going to be massive for engagements as well. As I can see that being combined with Groot, for example. Give Groot the aegis and then allow Groot to engage, pull people in, and then straggling prison to lock them all down, or vice versa. But the biggest thing I want to talk about here is Wolverine is already strong, and we do on the odd occasion see the fastball special with the Hulk. Difference is Hulk has to charge up, and then jump in to follow Wolverine, meaning Wolverine's alone. The Thing can follow. With that Aegis, they can just charge forward, throw Wolverine, and then charge to them to give them extra protection, and follow up with extra damage and sustain. I think that we will see a lot of. Wolverine's definitely not going anywhere. They're not touched in these patch notes. They are already strong. They are good. We'll keep seeing Wolverine across the board. But I think with the Thing in play, I think we're going to start to see more use of that fastball special team up. So, looking forward to that. I can definitely see that coming into use here. Also, those two together of the Hulk and the Thing, being able to have the Hulk dive in and then the Thing follow, is one of the most terrifying dive potentials I've ever heard of. That could be terrifying. We'll see if that does continue, because now we have some really scary, heavy dive pressure ultimate combos. We've got Wolverine and the Thing. We've got Cap and Thor, with both of them looking pretty strong right now. You've got some really solid dive potentials to try and pressure people. Venom, of course, being able to dive is still going to be really strong, especially with those buffs. Combine that with someone like a Spider-Man. I think dive potential has gone through the roof. Flyers have gone through the roof, but Rivals are trying to keep everything a little bit balanced here. We'll see how it goes. They've said they're not afraid to step in if they think something's going to be a little unbalanced. So we'll see if they're able to get away with that. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Tetcher Patch Note Rundown, so that you can head into the second half of Season 1 and get ready for the Marvel Rivals Championships, which, by the way, one other thing that was mentioned, they're opening up for more teams to enter, which is really, really fun. That's going to be very fascinating to see how that affects the actual sign-ups and affects the tournament as a whole. So we're excited for that, but yay! Let more people do esports! Let's go! But I have been Tetcher. This has been the Patch Rundown for the halfway patch of Season 1, as we are now... Ooh, maths is hard. just under 16 days away from heading into the Championship Games #1. We're on the 19th. So that's 8 days, 27th, and then 8 more days. Yeah, we're about 16 days away, give or take. Really getting close right now. So, I hope you're all enjoying. We're getting set up. More casts a cast will be out later tonight, so that you can enjoy that. I believe tonight's cast is going to be... Hang on, I can check that. I have the power. Let's have a look. Who is going to be tonight's cast? We're continuing with our console North American games. We have Corsairs versus AFBS in our lower bracket round 10 games. So make sure you tune into that. If you're enjoying these videos, leave a comment. Leave a comment saying who you think are going to be some of the main heroes when we get into the Season 1 MRC. Did I miss talking about anyone? Who is going to really see play? Who are going to be the defining characters? Leave a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you can see all the casts as I bring them to you. One cast a day for over 2 months now, and we are approaching Season 1, where that is going to continue. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all later for our next game in the MRC.